This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Tuesday morning. Do want to keep alerting you, there's no morning programming tomorrow, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but we'll be back here all ready to go on Friday when Aqueduct gets back into action. Santa Anita kicks off their meet. This segment wanted to go back because, again, last week they handed out year-end honors on the Selkie side of the game, and we certainly take a look at some of the top performers on that side of the game as the year progresses. On the human side, did want to mention Jimmy Takter has been named Trainer of the Year, and Yannick Gingras has been named Driver of the Year. Gingras, boy, he had over 17 million in purses and 555 wins. That was when this press release was sent out Monday. Obviously, with the year still going, he can do better on that. But this is kind of amazing. And again, Yannick Gingras named the Driver of the Year on the Selkie side. Over $17 million in earnings. He led all North American drivers. And the second place finisher as far as earnings, $5 million behind. And according to the press release sent out by the Harness Writers Association, never in history has a driver finished at least $5 million in front of his nearest competitor. Boy, I mean, that is just incredible. 17 million, better than 5 million ahead of the second place finisher. So it was a nice year for Yannick Gingras. Won 4 Breeders' Crown titles in 2014. Also won the Canadian Trotting Classic, the Hambletonian Oaks, the Little Brown Jug, and the Cane Pace. Really, really nice year for Yannick Gingras. As far as Jimmy Takter, the trainer, solid year for him as well. Only started 729 horses, or started horses 729 times. He had 729 starts through December 21st, but stable earned over $13 million. He won this year's Hambletonian with Trixton. He also drove that horse to victory. Also won the Hambletonian Oaks with Lifetime Pursuit, and Jimmy Takter became only the second trainer to win both races in the same year. Takter won 3 Breeders' Crown races this year. 2-year-old male trotter Pinkman, 3-year-old male trotter Father Patrick, and 3-year-old female trotter Shake It Carrie. So just an absolutely special year for Jimmy Takter. So on the human side, Takter and Gingras get it done as trainer and driver. On the horse side, Horse of the Year was very, very interesting. Horse of the Year on the sulky side was J.K. She's a Lady. And it's interesting because she was neither the pacer nor the trotter of the year. And voters can only select from the horse they make trotter or pacer of the year. And I'm not sure I can explain. The pacer of the year was Sweet Lou. The trotter of the year was Shake It Carrie. And J.K. She's a Lady was right behind Sweet Lou in the pacer of the year voting. But more voters shifted their vote away from Sweet Lou than happened with Shake It Carrie. And so it was a quirk of the voting that allowed J.K. She's a Lady to get voted in, despite not being either the pacer of the year or the trotter of the year. Because again, voters have to select from on their ballot, their horse of the year has to be a pacer of the year or trotter of the year they have voted for. But some went and shifted to, may have voted for J.K. She's a Lady as pacer of the year and Shake It Carrie's trotter of the year. And then they went to Shake It Carrie, let's say, for a trotter of the year, and more than went in the other direction. If I'm sure I'm not explaining that well, and it's quirky, let's put it that way. But it was a situation where J.K. She's a Lady winds up as the horse of the year on the harness side of the game by only 5 votes, 57-52 over Sweet Lou. It was the tightest horse of the year finish since 1975. Total 157 ballots were returned. We're going to take a look here while we're talking, and we're watching it now. This is the Breeders' Crown 2-year-old filly Pace, and it is J.K. She's a Lady with a very scintillating stretch run there to win. J.K. She's a Lady winds up the year with an incredible 12 for 12 record. She won over $800,000. Seasonal mark 150-1 at Mohawk, which equaled a world record. So 12 for 12. It's J.K. She's a Lady, a 2-year-old filly, being elected Horse of the Year on the harness side of the game. She's the 4th 2-year-old to ever be elected Horse of the Year. Joins Niatross, Neville Pride, and Brett Hanover. And it's all been a while. Brett Hanover, 64, Neville Pride, 67, Niatross, of course, 79. I remember Niatross for his losing effort up here at Saratoga, where he jumped the rail coming down the stretch as a non-betting horse in the field. So it was kind of a funny situation with Niatross. But again, Niatross elected Horse of the Year as a 2-year-old, as well as the other 2 others previously. But they were males. This is the first ever 2-year-old filly to be elected Horse of the Year on the harness side of the game. Pacer of the Year, again, this is the horse that was just edged out for Horse of the Year by J.K. She's a Lady. Older Pacer of the Year also Sweet Lou. And Sweet Lou going to take a look at the free-for-all final on 29th of November. You're going to see Sweet Lou get the job done there. One of his 11 victories in 19 starts in 2014. And, you look at the harness side of the game, and I think people on the thoroughbred side of the game kind of scoff at things on the harness side and think maybe, not quite the big money or whatnot out there. But Sweet Lou, and again, we're seeing him win the free-for-all on November 29th at the Meadowlands. Sweet Lou, over $1.3 million in earnings. And take a look at this, going back to, I have his PPs here someplace, going back to June 28th. Sweet Lou, 147 flat world record for Sweet Lou. And I'm told in my ear that we are now joined by Ken Weingartner, United States Trotting Association Media Relations Manager. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good, and I'm happy to have you on board. I was dancing my way through some thoughts, but I'd like to get more of an expert commentary on some of these year-end awards. Talked at the top of the segment about the 2 human award winners, Yannick Gingras and Jimmy Takter. Talk a little bit about the driver and trainer of the year.
Well, I'll start with Yannick. He just had a phenomenal year. He had the benefit of driving for 2 of the top trainers, then Jimmy Takter and Ron Burke, and he took full advantage of it. Drove many of the top horses this year. Was the primary driver much of the year behind J.K. She's a Lady, who went on to win Horse of the Year, and top 17 million in purses this year, which is 4th highest all time. And for the first time ever, he finished more than $5 million ahead of the second place driver. That's the first time anybody's done anything like that. So he was truly the dominant driver this year. And Jimmy had just, he's a Hall of Famer already. And he had a year unlike any other. It's really incredible. He had the top 5 earning 3-year-old trotters in the sport. 3 colts, 2 fillies. They were the top 5. One of them was Father Patrick, who won divisional honors. Another was Shake It Terry, the filly, who was Trotter of the Year. And he set career highs with earnings with more than $13 million. He won the Hambletonian. He won the Hambletonian Oaks. Only the second time that's happened, where trainers won both in the same year, and the last time it happened was in 1988. So, it was really just a storybook season for him as well.
Yeah, they were both deserving, and that $5 million gap between first and second on the driver's side really stood out to me when I read the press release. And Ken, we took a look just a few minutes ago at the Breeders' Crown 2-year-old filly Pace. Won by J.K. She's a Lady, the Horse of the Year. And I attempted to explain the quirky situation. Can you do a better job than I did of how she wound up Horse of the Year?
Well, I'll try to do that. When the voters are given the ballot to vote, they vote for the divisional honors, then they vote for Pacer of the Year and Trotter of the Year. And from Pacer of the Year and Trotter of the Year, which they have to select their Horse of the Year. And they can't select a third horse from that group. You know, if they select J.K. She's a Lady for the Pacer and Shake It Carry for the Trotter, they have to choose one or the other for Horse of the Year. Well, what happened was Sweet Lou and J.K. She's a Lady were separated by one vote for Pacer of the Year. I believe it was 74-73, and that edge went to Sweet Lou. However, many of the Sweet Lou voters then picked the Trotter for their Trotter of the Year, which enabled J.K. She's a Lady to get more votes than him for Horse of the Year, and she beat him by 5 votes that way. So it was kind of it's a quirk. It's never happened in 45 years, and it just shows, I think, how difficult it was for people to decide between these horses, because you could choose, you know, any of those 3 horses and make a valid argument that they were Horse of the Year. You might even be able to pick a 4th or a 5th horse.
And thank you, because you did a much better job than I did, and I think that made a lot of sense there. But it was a little bit quirky, and it was quirky also, the result, in that this was the first time a 2-year-old filly had been selected Horse of the Year.
That is correct. The first time a 2-year-old filly Pacer has been Horse of the Year, and only, I think, the 4th time that a 2-year-old has been Horse of the Year. The last time it happened was 1979. The great Niatros did it. So she's in elite company, but, you know, she went 12 for 12. She did it all against stakes competition. You know, there have been other instances where there have been some 2-year-old fillies that went undefeated, but a lot of their racing was done within the sire stakes or in restricted races, you know, for state-bred horses. And she faced stakes competition all the way through. She equaled a world record. And Sassa Hanover, who was looking like her main competition heading into the Breeders' Crown, also was a world record holder. So she was no slouch there, and, you know, so she beat some good competition along the way.
And we just looked, as you came on the air with us, we were looking at the free-for-all final on November 29th with Sweet Lou. And I mentioned, and talk a little bit about his 2014, but I mentioned going back to June, world record at Mohegan Sun of Pocono Downs, 147 flat.
Yeah, that was a remarkable mile for him, 147. That's just 1/5 of a second off the race record on a mile track. So it shows what kind of mile it is. Now, Pocono Downs is known for its speed, but even with that, that's unbelievable. And speed really embodied Sweet Lou when he was on his top of his game this summer. He went 6 consecutive races, winning in less than 148. Nobody's ever put a streak together like that. And he was just, you know, it's so tough at that level, going those miles week after week. It's very demanding. And he lived up to it and was able to finish the season with a nice win.
And let's now look at Shake It Carry, winds up to be Trotter of the Year, and we're going to look at the 3-year-old filly trot final on Breeders' Crown, one of the Breeders' Crown nights down at the Meadowlands on November 21st. And Ken, we had you on that week, and we were talking, previewing these races, and mentioned Shake It Carry. And she came into this, I think, with an 8-race win streak, and she'll get it done here in the Breeders' Crown. Again, the 3-year-old filly trot final. Talk a little bit about Shake It Carry and her year. 15 for 17 in 2014.
And you are correct. She went in with an 8-race win streak, and she left with 9. So she was terrific. The only time she was not on top of her game really came in the Hambletonian Oaks, where she finished 4th, and her stablemate, Lifetime Pursuit, ended up winning that race. And it's really, you know, since that race, that's when she went on the 9-race winning streak. She was dominating the rest of the way. She beat Lifetime Pursuit several times during the rest of the season. So there was no doubt that she was the clear-cut choice in that division. And I think at the end, there's no doubt she was really the clear-cut choice for Trotter of the Year. And you go back to that Hambletonian Oaks and you think, boy, if she had won that race, where would she have been in the Horse of the Year conversation?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, she, with the fourth 2-year-old, the first 2-year-old filly, but she was in pretty good company. You mentioned Niatross, but Neville Pride and Brett Hanover. So she certainly is in some stellar company. We'll see if she can live up to that. Speaking of good company, Ken, before we let you go, just also want to touch on, it was a really nice 2014, because we talked about Horse of the Year, Pacer of the Year, Trotter of the Year, but obviously there were the various subdivisions and whatnot. 2-year-old male Pacer, Art Speak, 8 for 10. You had Sweet Lou was the older male Pacer as well. You get over on the trotting side, and Father Patrick, 3-year-old male trotter, 12 for 17. Just overall, as you look at the winners in the various divisions, really a solid 2014 on the harness side.
I agree, and it was just a fascinating years on many levels, because there were so many things that nobody didn't really expect to see happen. I mean, Sebastian K came over from Sweden, and his first time out equals the world record, and about 3 starts later, he shatters the world record in trotting 149. Father Patrick came in with all the attention on him, and if you were going to pick a preseason Horse of the Year, so to speak, he would have been the preseason favorite. And he hit some bumps in the road, but finished up strongly. I think going ahead to next year, the horse everybody seems to be really excited about is Mission Brief. She's the 2-year-old filly trotter, and she went out at Lexington's Red Mile in, I believe, September, and trotted 150-3, which is just unheard of for a 2-year-old trotter. Her only problem was, when she was good, she was very good, and when she was bad, she was, galloping. So she lost 4 times. She galloped in all 4 of them, made breaks. But when she was on her game, I think the races that she won, her combined margin of victory was over 65 lengths. So, I mean, she just dominated there. And if she can come back and mind her manners, people are talking about her for the Hamiltonian next year.
Very good. And as I say, it was an intriguing 2014, and with a 2-year-old being named Horse of the Year, I think we have a nice 2015 to look forward to as well. And Ken, as always, we will plug into you and talk about that as the year progresses. We appreciate the visits we've had with you this year, talking about some of the highlights on the sulky season the past 12 months. And Ken, before I let you go, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and all of yours, and everybody at the USTA. Again, we appreciate the visits, and we'll talk to you again.
Well, thank you very much. Happy holidays to you, and I really appreciate it.